Hello, and this is Big Bang Bot, and today I will be reviewing WipEout for the Sony PlayStation. Now, when it comes to this game's release, it first came out on the PS1 as a launch title in Europe. In America, it came out 2 months later, where it wasn't a launch title. In Japan, it came out in March of 1996. The MS-DOS version came out in October of 1995 in Europe, and November of 1995 in America. And the Saturn version came out 1996 everywhere, and the PSN version came out 1996 everywhere. Now, this game has received positive reviews. Some people say that it blew their minds. But does it blow my mind? Did it do it back in the day? Do I like this game? Has it held up well? Well, you're about to find out. Well, at least in my opinion. This game doesn't really have a story, but what I do know is that it is the year 2052, or 2052 as we'll probably be calling it when it comes, and there is a racing tournament in the deadliest cars that 2052 or 2052 has to offer. Yeah! And just look at this intro. We're about to see the cars ready to start their awesome race. Here we go. They're all ready to race. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Yeah, so this game basically practically doesn't really have a story. Okay? But I wonder if it will really be like this in 2052 or 2052. I wonder if it will be like that. Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? That's if we're still alive. Yeah? We could still be alive, but we might be dead, okay? Now, in case you haven't told or guessed by the intro of this game, because you're stupid or blind, this game is a racing game. Which simply means that you've got 3 laps and you have to beat them all and try and come in first place. Which isn't easy, but it certainly is satisfying if you do come in first. WipEout is basically F-Zero, but with weapons. All I'm going to say about the weapons is that they are mostly explosives with like a turbo and a shield thrown in, and they're mostly based off of Mario Kart. There are a total of 8 drivers in 4 different classes, which have different stats, even though I didn't really notice a big difference in any of them. Just to let you know, I always play as Aerial Tetsuo, because why not? In this game, there are a total of 6 tracks. Well, 7 if you count the secret track Firestar, which is on Mars! This game has 2 classes, Venom class and Rapier class, or what I prefer to call them fast mode, but at the same time not so fast mode, and way too beeping fast mode. In this game, the controls, well, basically there are 8 configurations, but I always, or presets as the game calls them, I always use preset B, where the controls are A to accelerate, B to fire, triangle to change view, and L and R to use the air brake. The controls, I'm sorry to say this, guys, but they suck. You will crash a lot. Now, just to let you know, I suck at this game. And I have not gotten used to the slippery controls. You will crash all the time. And when the AI hits you, you go flying in one direction. And every time you hit the wall, you slow down, and it's nearly impossible to not hit the wall because you're going so fast, and all the pathways you're on are so narrow, and they're not wide enough for you to drive in properly like an F-Zero. And it's even worse in Rapier class. Since you're going faster, that makes you have less control, and that makes it even more likely to hit into the walls on these really narrow pathways. And since you're going so fast, you won't always be able to react to the walls. And since your car controls so slipperily, you will crash a lot, especially in the Rapier mode, since you're going a lot faster. It controls bad enough in Venom, but in Rapier, it is just even worse. Now, F-Zero controls a lot better than WipEout, and also the surfaces are wider so that it's less likely to crash, even though it's likely to crash. And while F-Zero's controls still aren't perfect, it still controls better than WipEout. Well, F-Zero is set 500 years after WipEout, so it makes sense, I guess. As for the game modes, I don't need to say a single beeping thing. Graphically, the game looks very good for 1995 as a launch title for the PS1 in Europe. I mean, the textures look fine, and while it's not that colourful, and it does feel kind of dark, and there are some glitchy parts in the textures when you get stuck to walls, and there is popping, most definitely. It still looks fine for 1995. Looking back, the graphics have aged better than Daytona USA's graphics. The graphics have definitely come away since then. But, you know, Daytona USA did come out before WipEout, and it does look, and Daytona USA does look more colourful, and it does look brighter, but WipEout's graphics do still look better, if not darker. As for the music, it's also pretty good. While F-Zero may have better music, WipEout still sounds good. My favourite song is Messy J, which only really fits for the menus, and even the game knows that, even though it rarely ever appears. I'd like you to listen to it for a bit. Pyrodrome, however, sounds beeping weird, but it still sounds good. I think you get the picture by now. The sound effects are not the best, and there's practically no voice acting. Well, except in the intro where there's this guy that says WipEout. Are there any problems I have with this game? Yes, there are. Like I explained before, this game controls so badly, especially in the rapier mode. Your cars feel so slippery. They don't turn tight enough. They kind of feel like a brick when they turn, but at the same time they feel like Sonic the Hedgehog doing his most powerful slide ever. Also, the tracks are not very well designed, mainly because that the gaps are so thin. And how are you meant to go on thin gaps? How are you meant to not hit walls when you have super slippery controls, going really fast, and having extremely narrow paths to drive in? While you may be crashing all the time, the AI certainly know what they're doing, and they've memorized the tracks, and they barely ever crash into any walls. This can make coming in first really hard sometimes, unless you're a master at this game and you know exactly what you're doing and you've memorized the courses and you can turn like a god. But possibly the worst thing in the entire game is its multiplayer. Now, it's not because the multiplayer is bad. I haven't played. In fact, the multiplayer mode has a couple of exclusive items. But the problem is with the multiplayer is that you have to use a link cable between two PS1s. Do you want to know how stupid that is? That is so beeping dumb. I mean, why would they do that? I mean, the PS1 does have two controller ports. See? 1, 2. So why does they have to use these stupid long cables? I'm aware this is a PS2, so shut up. Link cables are for old portable systems, not video game home systems. In fact, the Sega Saturn version, because it doesn't have a stupid linked cable, which is a good thing, doesn't have multiplayer, even though it still has, again, 2 controller ports. I mean, what the beep is wrong with you, sicknosis? And the only way to unlock Rapier class is to beat the championship mode in Venom. And that is so annoying. I had to use a cheat code to unlock the Rapier class because considering I suck at this game, I just could not take it. And in order to play the final track, Firestar, you also need to put in a cheat code. That's right, you can't access the secret track unless you put in a cheat code. That is annoying. And I also hate Rapier mode because it makes the controls a lot worse. But other than that, those are practically all the bad things. There are a couple of good things about this game. First off, the game looks very nice for a game released in 1995, and like I mentioned before, the music's pretty good. And if there's one more thing I'd like to mention, the intro is possibly the best bit about this game. I mean, it looks very nice for 1995, and even today it definitely doesn't look that bad considering what PS1 games looked like back in the day. And it's enjoyable and it's got a really cool techno beat music song. Plus, when you're not failing in the Venom mode or even the Rapier mode, the game can actually be pretty fun. Although this intro is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. It looks nice, it's cool, and it's definitely got a cool techno beat. But if you want to see the entire intro about me blabbering on and without, you know, my voice, then just look it up on YouTube. I mean, it can't be that hard to find. I mean, after all, this game did sell well, and it is successful, and it's a part of a well-loved racing series, so it should not be hard to find a video on the intro of this game. Overall, I think WipEout is actually kinda overrated. Now, it's not a bad game. Hear me out, it's not a bad game, but it's just not as good as everyone says it is. Well, I have no nostalgia for the game, so maybe that's why, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as many other people did. It did look nice for the time, and it definitely sounds nice, but it controls horribly, and the rapier class is insane, and the stupid multiplayer system. Seriously. And I mean seriously. There are 2 controller ports on a PS1, and it's been like that since the beginning. Yet, you know, you needed a link cable along with 2 PS1s. The PS1 is a home video game system, not a portable one. But other than that, WipEout can be fun when you're not crashing all the time. And even when you are crashing all the time, it's not bad. It's just, you just feel bad. You are the one who feels bad, not the game. Although they should have programmed the controls better. What shall I give WipEout? That's tough. While it's not amazing, it's certainly not horrible. I'm going to give it a C. It's an above average game. And if it's above average, and if you can find it for a low price, and I know that you can because it's on the PSN store, you can buy it, but I only really recommend you buy it if you are used to the WipEout series. The only other game in the series I played is HD Fury, and I don't own that game, and I did have fun when I played that game. It's definitely an improvement over the original. And don't play the original until you've played the follow-ups. I recommend you get used to them first, and then you can get used to WipEout 1. But I do not recommend going for the first one first, unless you're going in chronological order. But if you're a fan of WipEout, it is worth the money. If you want to try WipEout out, and if you want to try WipEout out, that sounds really weird, then, you know, you can play it if you want, but you could try a later game in the series, since I've heard that the later games are a lot better than the first. So I give it a C+. No, just a regular C. If you want a better racing game on the PS1, Crash Team Racing all the way. If you want a better racing game like WipEout, then you're better off going with one of the F-Zero games. But, you know, you can still play WipEout if you want. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. I know this was shorter than my other reviews, but really, there's not that much to talk about in WipEout. There really isn't. Okay? This is Big Bang Bot signing out. Oh, and remember, if you have requests, leave them in the comments. It doesn't matter what they're requests for, just leave them in the comments down below. Which depending on what screen you're using this on, it's probably not on your screen. But if it is on your screen, you can always go down to it. And even if it's not on your screen, you can change the screen and then go down to the comments, okay? Bye-bye! Oh, and happy birthday, Austin Cheese. I hope you have a wonderful birthday, or had a wonderful birthday if you're not watching this on your birthday. But I just hope that you had a wonderful birthday, and I hope you enjoyed your birthday special. Okay? Goodbye for realsies!